Yo, it's August 19th, 2023, 6:09 p.m. and we're looking at Hurricane Hilary again, so let's get at it. Here is the radar for, the whole continental US, and you can see it's starting to move, like the early bands of Hillary starting to move into Southern California in the Southwest United States and over uh, Baja California. And if we go to single site radar, I think you click this one, and I think this one's kind of blocked off by mountains. So if you click this one, you can actually see what's going on here. And you can see, I mean, these are just the early bands. I saw some videos on Twitter this morning, last night, where I believe some of the early bits of moisture and storm and bands from Hillary were making their way through through San Diego. The videos, or the Twitter posts were saying it was San Diego, and it looked very ominous, very dark. We'll go and look at some of that in a bit, but first I wanted to look at this stuff. We're not going to look at every GFS run this time. We're just going to look at the 18Z, the most recent one. It's looking, currently on this run, it's already looking not so organized. But when we look at the more high resolution runs, you know, it does look still like it's together. So as you can see, it as it's been for the past, what is this, the eighth or ninth day looking at this? This is what the run, it's pretty much what the run. In fact, I would say it's, this one, you'll see it in the higher resolution um models, but it like legitimately the eye seems to run along the coast, so I mean, it looks like a legitimate Southern California landfall. It doesn't look even like, it makes a landfall here and just goes north. I mean, it looks like at least half of the eye heads straight into Southern California. So let's watch this whole thing. I haven't watched it yet. It's about 98% done. And yeah. Okay, that goes through. You got the moisture coming in from the Gulf. You got a big hurricane there. Some hurricanes out there. All right, so you got something that forms up here and goes into Mexico City, but or goes towards it, I guess. Actually, didn't quite get into Mexico City. It goes to Colima. But anyway, that's not what we're really looking at. Let's look at the higher resolution models. Here's the high res rapid refresh. Look at the 18Z because that's the longer. All the other ones, every 6 hours, it gives you a 48 frame, like a longer run, and anything in between only gives you like 24. So here's what this looks like. We'll slow it down in a second, but you can see that it's still relatively organized looking as it moves up Baja California here. So let's do this kind of where I can control it a little better frame by frame. So as it's moving, you can see there's still like organization enough to where it looks like a tropical cyclone, right? And here you can see it like half makes a landfall, but half of the eye wall seems to continue up the coast until it gets to and it looks more prevalent actually in the NAM 3K, but we'll look at that in a second. Um, but the significant amount of moisture seems to uh, move on the SoCal side of like the more populated side of everything. So you can see a lot of the water or a lot of the moisture here. And here, let's go to look at Los Angeles. We'll look at Los Angeles, but And the reason I did this was so that we pull up what this looks like. So if you notice, you got these kind of mountainous terrain here, right? And so what I'm thinking is happening is as the what the model is picking up is it is either going to split right or split left, and it looks like the high res rapid refresh is going more westernly with a lot of the moisture that it pushes, because I think this is like the mountainous area, that's why you don't see roads and stuff as much there, except maybe going over stuff. But we could even here. Okay, here's a better representation, I suppose. Can't really see. Oh, hold on. So it looks like you're starting to get some of the main. So some of the first real bands, because some of the early portions aren't really even like the bands. It's like the moisture streaming north, but like you can see this stuff popping up over California as well. Um, and I think I'm not. I we'll talk about the rainfall estimates in a minute, but if you look at it, like a lot of this holds to the west of these mountains here, right? And so I think it kind of is gonna, the terminology that I've heard is ring. The mountains are gonna wring the water out over these whatever side is. If it was more easternly, it's gonna go towards, I guess, the Salton Sea and more desert areas. But it looks like a lot of the moisture is gonna go actually over, at least based on this in the NAM 3K, which we'll look at. It looks like it's gonna go over the um, more westernly like populated areas, which I think it's still to be seen. But I don't think anybody in fact, I know that nobody in California has seen anything like this in California. In fact, by the way, these are tropical storm warnings, which I think is just like the tropical storm watches were. These tropical storm warnings are the first tropical storm warnings that I believe have ever been put up in this area. As it says, devastating to catastrophic extreme rainfall flooding may prompt numerous evacuations in rivers. Uh, Thankfully, the situation is unfavorable for tornadoes, but I don't think that was ever the real risk. And I've seen some videos where over Baja California, and Baja California Sur, where some of the winds were pretty like more intense than I think was expected. Um, Yeah, so this is what the HRRR looks like. Let's also look at the so this is the total precipitation. We're gonna look at the total precipitation on the HRRR, and we're gonna put this back to we're gonna put this back to this so that it's easier to kind of have better contrast on this coloration here. Okay, so this is what the high res rapid refresh thinks, and I'm gonna be honest, like I believe certain spots have already gotten more water than this is showing, so that could be a sign. That's at least what I've heard. Uh, we're kind of in a chaotic part of everything where, um, you know, different information's coming out. But I've already heard of, at least supposedly, that certain spots have already received 4 inches. So, um, and I'm not saying like the super populated areas, but I think some parts, randomly in the desert or whatever, that have gotten initial bans have already gotten some significant rain. Whether that's true or not, but that is what I heard from a a pretty prominent YouTube meteorologist. So I'm gonna go with that. So you can see over, like, let's look at some different areas. over San Diego, and this is a high-res rapid refresh. This is one of the, um, you know, models that is used to look at possible outcomes on things. So, like San Diego, if we just go over, I'm assuming this is like City Hall or wherever. We'll go over Balboa Park. I think I've been there before. All right, 1.5 inches, 1.62 inches of rain. Uh, and you gotta bear in mind, like a lot of these places, that's a lot of rain. In you know here in Houston, that is not like a catastrophic amount, but even um, it's not completely tiny. But in California, I think this is gonna be okay as we go up in Cetus, 2.75 inches. Carlsbad, 2.25 of an inch. San Clemente, 3 inches. Laguna Beach, 3 and almost a quarter inches. Uh, Newport, 3.5 about inches. Huntington Beach, two almost 2.5. Long Beach, 1 inch 88. Uh, Rancho Palos Verdes, 2.5 to 3 and a quarter, or to 2 and a quarter. I mean, sorry, 2 and 3 quarters. Um, Manhattan Beach, almost 2 inches. Santa Monica, an inch and a half. Malibu, an inch. Calabasas, 1.25. Uh, Studio City, 2 inches. West Hollywood. Okay, Beverly Hills, 2 inches. Hollywood, 2 inches. Go have some. Okay, over Los Angeles, like downtown, 2.25 inch. I have some family that lives in LA, and they live somewhere about 2.25 inch. Uh, Now we're getting into 3 inches. So let's start moving a little more east. Rancho Cucamonga, 3.25. San Bernardino, 2.75. Uh, and like, okay, now let's look at like Palm Springs. Palm Springs, 3.5 inches. And then if you just go up, so I think this is a mountain, right? If you go up the mountain, we literally get to like a point where at the mountaintop it's 13 inches. And like, that has to run down somewhere, right? That's part of the reason why this is going to be, I think, really dangerous, is because these mountains, as the moisture moves over it, say it puts 13 inches, over a foot of rain on top of San Jacinto Peak. If we pull that up here and go look at that, what do you think happens with that water? I think it goes down somewhere, right? That's how, physics works. And, your options are it goes west or it goes east, pretty much, right? And if it comes down the mountain this way, I mean, imagine a foot of rain. I think that's going to be major problems for Palm Springs. Just a guess. Just a guess. But I don't think, personally, I don't think that people have prepared enough. And I was listening to a weather guy on on YouTube earlier, and someone said, "Hey, we're ready here. We've gotten all our preparations ready." And the guy was just like, I don't think Southern California is ready for this. And to be honest, I think this is going to be something that people, we'll just see what happens. But I'm not expecting uh, what people might generally consider like a positive thing out of this. Um, I'm expecting when it says catastrophic, I'm more expecting something like that. Okay, we'll kind of move now towards another place of interest. So I know it's like if you look at Las Vegas, you can see anywhere from an inch to an inch and a half to 2 inches, but then up this mountain, 6 inches, right? And so similarly, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, if it rains, pretty sure that's these mountains, right? If it rains, half a foot of rain in these mountains, where is that gonna go? I mean, it goes down, right? It goes downhill and just sit on the mountain top, and red rock wash over. I mean, look, you almost. I'm assuming this is where water has run off before, and I'm gonna say probably not nearly the amount of water that this storm is gonna drop. So we'll see what happens, but again, the whole hey, there's like a mountain peak, and then the valley is where the people have built up. It's going to be, I think, an issue with this. Just a guess. Again, these are, me thinking like common sense thoughts here, but that's what I'm guessing. So, also, quite a bit of rain in Arizona. Um, and then you can see some of these spots also here, like in the mountains. I mean, 13, 14 inches. It was at 14 inches for a second. Let's see if we can find a spot. And one thing I noticed is this is more conservative. Even that's what I was saying. Like the guy I talking about who had talked about it on YouTube. He's like, yeah, I think these are pretty conservative as far as estimates are concerned, and I think these are pretty conservative based on just looking at, we're looking at total precipitation, but based on looking at, composite reflectivity, which is where like what the rain bands look like as it goes over, this doesn't, I don't get personally, I don't see how there's not going to be more water in like this bowl essentially, right? Um, or, along different parts of the coast here, just because that's where it looks like this moves over, right? The significant portion of it. So, okay, let's look at the NAM 3 kilometer model. So this is the NAM 3K. It's a little more high resolution than HRRR. So let's have it make its run. Very similar looking. Again, it's a little more high resolution, so you can see kind of more specifically where things rain. And you can even see after as it's pushing over. It seems to think that there's going to be like, it almost looks like it as far as what I'm talking about, where as it's moving over the mountains, you can see it just sit some of the moisture just sits over the area as it moves over top, right? Like these remnants here, and you see a lot less, like a lower DBZ, kind of after it pushes over here and then over the next set of mountains. So looks like they've already put out flash flood warnings. I think there were flash flood warnings for Nevada and around this area yesterday. So yeah. But another thing that I wanted to point out with the NAM 3K here is when you look at it, the okay, this you can see this is where the eye wall is, right? I mean, this is this is the eye, right? So this is the eye, and it's looking like that, and then as it's moving, you can see it It similarly with the HRRR makes like a half half landfall. I guess on the eastern side it's still scraping along the coast, but like half of the where the eye would be is still kind of off, and you can see again it looks like it heads straight towards Southern California. Um, okay, so what I really wanted to look at out of this though is when I pulled this up, I was shocked. So the total precipitation that the NAM 3 kilometer model thinks for the next 48 plus hours this is shocking as compared to like this is more like what I was thinking, and it's my understanding that this can overestimate rainfall amounts or overestimate things at times, and so that would be like the saving grace of this is like it's overestimating things, but this the NAM 3K seems to think there is significantly more rainfall. So if we look back, like okay, over San Diego, if we go back to San Diego, somewhere between 4 and 3/4 and 5 inches of rain. Uh, Go back over Balboa Park, right? Just 5 inches, over 5 inches of rain. Uh, Almost 6.5. 6, still 6. Let's move it up to 5. Laguna Beach 4. So we're seeing a little drop off, but 4 inches is still a significant, like is a majorly significant amount of water for this area. 5 inches over Rancho Palos Verdes or the Palos Verdes Estates, 5.5. This is an area that already just recently saw some strange landslide stuff to begin with. Do I know someone from that area? I think I do. Santa Monica, almost 4 inches. Malibu, 4.25 over Malibu. And like, you got to think again, if there's 6 inches on the top of these mountains here, right? Like over by Malibu, there's 6 inches up here. Where do you think that goes? I mean, I guess it goes in between some of the mountains and a bit. Or, additionally, these are some places where like fires have been before. I just think that that's a recipe for problems. Yeah. So Pacific Palisades, 4.25 inches. Beverly Hills, 4.5 inches. West Hollywood, almost 4 and 3/4 inches. Hollywood, 5 inches. Um, Los Angeles downtown, 6 inches, half a foot. Now let's look at some of the well, just around downtown, 6 inches, 5 inches, 3.5 inches, like different whatever. But let's look at some of these places where it's like the rainfall estimates for some of these areas, like these are mountaintops, right? I think, but it's literally off the charts. Watch this. You can see it's this thing in the middle. I can't move it. It just gives an estimate of what's in the middle of the screen. Oh, hold on. It's not giving an estimate because it's literally off the chart. You go here, you go down a little bit on it. Okay. Over like off the chart means it's over a foot of rain, basically at this point. Um, this white area more than 50, like I guess it means it's more than 15 inches because the chart ends at 15 inches. So if it's off the chart, literally, that just means it's above 15 inches. And I think what it's saying, you see it repeat the colors. I think it's saying on top of 15 inches, there's additional rain. Which, if that's the case, that would absolutely be catastrophic. Like, okay, Palm Springs, right? This isn't even the actual, like, Palm Springs 6 to 7 inches. The mountains that are right, that Palm Springs is like built on, the side of the mountain, a foot of rain. If you go up off the chart, it literally doesn't. And so, like, this might be the opposite of conservative. It might be a very liberal representation of how much rain could fall. Uh, it could be realistic, to be honest. I, like, there is so much moisture that this is carrying, and when you look at something like what happened here in Houston with Hurricane Harvey, or you look at just what tropical cyclones and hurricanes do, they dump a lot of water. Wind is only a small factor. I mean, depends on the situation. Something like Hurricane Michael in 2018, the wind was the thing. I mean, the storm surge and rain was problematic too, but the wind being like 150-mile-per-hour plus wind as it made landfall, that's a problem. But generally, uh, a lot of the problem that I see from hurricanes comes from rain. And, let's move back up towards Las Vegas here. It thinks about an inch, but then up the mountainside, just the mountain like right next to it. This is the little area that we were looking at with Las Vegas earlier. 6 inches, 12 inches, off the chart. All these areas that go like purple, white, and then kind of you see a green into black again. That's like it doesn't. It literally, I don't think it knows what to do. I think it's more water than it like it just assumes it's like broken or something. I, I don't know. It might be also because a lot of these places are mountaintops, so like you can see it looks like it does this along the mountaintops. The issue is if it's dumping that much rain, it's gonna go one way down the mountain or the other, right? I mean, so that is that, and we're gonna stop looking at the radar omega here to now. First of all, I want to look at what it looks like just as a storm. Like this is live, not live, but recent uh, near infrared imagery, right? And you can see it. It still has a shape of a hurricane. It's still moving. Uh, it looks very large. Someone said it was a Texas-sized hurricane. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's look at the long wave infrared. Here you go. You can see those like bands just streaming northward. Let's look at the mosaic radar too. So you can see already there's a bunch of moisture here. This is similar to the radar that we were already looking at in radar omega. But you can see that you're starting to see a lot more moisture starting to pour north. And the last thing here, let's look at some of the. I just pulled up like what is trending on Twitter for Hurricane Hilary. I'll click it again so we just get the newest thing. Though you can see, looks like excess rain and extreme winds here, and I'm pretty sure this says inaction in Mexico. I think it's Baja California. So let's look at the. I don't know. I guess we'll. Okay, well, it's. I don't think for California it's going to look as much like this. Oh man, look at that sky. Looks crazy. Is it in Palm Springs? Oof. Okay, so this is what I saw earlier this morning, which is just like super, super ominous, extremely dark skies, very energetic lightning. Uh, Sea seals sensing the hurricane, anticipating the danger. Uh, Biblical floods threaten to punish Southern California. Usually, punishment comes for doing something. Biblical would mean it's related to Jesus and Yahweh. Did okay. Anyway, it says meanwhile in Las Vegas before Hurricane Hilary hits. Right. So this is what. God. Okay. So it looks like it. This is why I'm like I don't actually know if this is from Las Vegas before things, right? But that looks like this isn't even. These aren't even the first. Like I guess it's the first moisture, but it's like it hasn't even really started yet. Um,
Circulan en redes sociales. Circulan en redes sociales imágenes de la tormenta que azotó a la capital de Sonora.
¡Ay! ¡Ah! ¡Jesús de Nazaret! ¿Qué se cayó? ¿Qué se cayó? ¡Ay! ¡Ah! ¡Se está volando! ¡Ayer! ¡Ah!
Granizo y fuertes ráfagas de vientos provocaron la caída de árboles, postes de luz y espectaculares.
okay, so most of that was set up by the wind, right? But that's not what California is really looking at being a problem. This is the kind of thing that California is looking at being a problem. See how all the water goes down the stairs? Okay, imagine these are the mountains. Like imagine this is the Hollywood Hills, right? If 6 inches of rain, if you know, however many, like I think 6 inches of rain, right? That's what. Okay, if 6 inches of rain falls the top of the Hollywood Hills, where do you think that water's going? Uh, Knocking down trees here. Okay, as much as I've made jokes about there not being tornado risk, that looks like very ominous. Uh, so I would say it's not impossible, but it's just I don't think that's the main risk. Um, Boats floating in the middle of the marina due to the dock being ripped apart. Absolute chaos at Lake Mead, Nevada. Time lapse. Oh, okay. Let's watch this. Suppose that's the proverbial calm before the storm. Um. Okay, ignore this one. This does look quite beautiful, actually. Okay, here you go. This is
running from Hillary. We saw her 45 miles. Like, honey, this was all fun and games, but now we're actually running from Hillary. We saw her 45 miles. Like, we saw her 45 miles away, and and 1 hour. Oh my god! It's like a 1 hour. Shit, bitch! Hillary's coming to get us. Hillary's here. Honey, this was all fun and.
okay. This is the type of thing that I was saying, where it's like, that is super ominous. This is not the type of storm, electrical storm. This looks like the type of electrical storm that you see here in Houston that I've recorded in the Lightning Lab videos. That's what that looks like. And this looks like an angry version, an angry, way more chaotic version. You know, when the lightning storms come around, at least around when I'm recording, seem to be a lot more organized. This seems to be like angry, angry deity lightning storm. Active waves of 6 to 12 feet are currently recorded in Baja, Southern California. National Hurricane Center projected catastrophic damage for the entire population. So, okay, we'll look at one more thing. We'll look at this.
El cielo se cae, viejo chicken little. El cielo se cae, viejo chicken little.
Okay. So, you know, I think this is gonna be significant. I've explained why I think this is happening. Why, again, less than a month after I post the video, the compilation of me triggering lightning strikes, which you can go look at. It's on my page. Triggering lightning. Number one, right? It's number one because there's other. That's only one of the postures that I do, and that's only for, I didn't even take every example. So, I've brought up what is disturbing me that seems to be, there seem to be people around me, but specifically, there seem to be some people in Southern California, Los Angeles, disturbing me. What's going on with Alessandra Ambrosio? You know, like some kind of resolution with whatever that is. Because, again, this legitimately looks like, hey, if you're messing with Matt, it is a national security issue because you get catastrophic things like this, which I think it's yet to be seen what happens from this. But I don't think it looks good. So, are the people in Southern California that I'm talking about, are they helping me or are they causing me problems that might lead the deity that seems to be attached to me? Being again the thing that I've said, hey, there's this thing at the end of the Bible, the seven churches of Asia. It's just an if then conditional statement thing, and I'm the only one who's like, hey, it clearly reads as a series of if-then conditional statements. It looks like I've been successfully overcoming and conquering and doing the things that it says. And this would be the type of activity associated with, if I'm that guy, well, the being on the throne of Jesus slash Yahweh, this might be something that forms up around a situation where it seems like people are messing with me and all the terrible things that have happened to me. Uh, as all the terrible things that seem to happen to the person who overcomes those terrible things and then is sat on the throne of Yahweh. You get it, like so. Okay, I'm gonna end this video here. I don't really have anything else to say. I don't really think, you know, but it does not seem like people listen to me anyway. I mean, they might listen just to taunt me more or something. I don't. It's hard to tell, and so again, my suggestion: whatever the situation with Alessandra Ambrosio is, and other people, but specifically her, that seems to be a big trigger. This, give me face to face, and let's work out whatever it is. Because anyway, that's it. I don't have anything else to add. Uh, I guess we'll see what happens. Anyway, have a blessed one. Later. Yeah.